Donna, it is an absolute pleasure. Third time lucky. This is the third time we're trying to record this call. You've come back. You're an absolute champ. Thank you so much for joining me on this show. It's brilliant that we've got this opportunity yet again. I mean, I'm lapping it up because I love any chance I can to have a little chin wag with you. We just kind of sort of talking before the show there, and it's like, yeah, things have been a little bit strange over the last year, and I think there's been a big old learning curve, not only for ourselves, but just in terms of the nation as a whole. But we've definitely had some things thrown at us, and I'm really excited to kind of get into where you're at, how you're feeling. I know, now we're actually on the returning end of things, so there finally is a light at the end of the tunnel, which we didn't have the last time we chatted. So that is so excited. Talk to me about that first. What have you got coming up? What do you have to look forward to and be excited about?
Well, I've worked through the whole pandemic because I worked for social services and now I work for the NHS. So my kind of actual day-to-day life is just kind of continued as normal. But like competition-wise, still we don't really know what's happening. The big competitions that I would have had planned that I'd already qualified for are all in America between September and November, and I think there's about 4 of them. So that is quite a big ask, really, when we don't know anything about the travel requirements and quarantine. Also, because of my job, am I going to get that amount of time off? Probably not. So I'm going to have to pick. But currently, although my chubby cheeks would not like stand beside it, I'm currently cutting to middleweight 82 to do the England qualifiers. Yeah, so pray for Don Dons because.
Hey, that's sick. That's so cool. So what made you decide that?
Well, I'm just kind of like that. So I'm like, right, what else can I do? Oh, I know. This is what I'll do. So I suppose the thing behind it is because we don't know about travel.
Yeah.
Everything that I've already qualified is basically for heavyweight. So I just thought, well, there's no point me sort of really doing the heavyweight here because everything that it leads to, I've already qualified for or I've done. So the biggest challenge for me, because obviously I'm heavier, is to come down a weight class. And it's something that I've thought about for a while, but it's just that the competitions have been like March and then something in the summer and then a record and then it's Worlds and then it's basically March again. So I've never really had the opportunity. So I just thought, all right, then, well, we're allowed to do stuff here in England. So yeah, let's do that. Why not? And everyone's like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And I was like, well, tough. So here we are.
That's such a Donna way to just handle things. Like, I'm doing it. Like, I don't really care what you think. Like, I fancy doing this thing, so I'm gonna go do it. That's so you.
It might like totally backfire on me, of course. But you don't know if you don't try. So I didn't get anywhere doing any of this if I didn't try. So we'll see what it leads to. I mean, literally the biggest aspect for me is obviously changing my nutrition to get to that body weight, and also it is not a 24-hour weigh-in, so that's also like a bit of a.
What is it, a 12-hour weigh-in?
No, it's the same in the morning. Yeah.
Really?
So in the morning of the competition, you just weigh in and then off you go. So for me, obviously having to cut, I was like, oh well, if it's a 24-hour weigh-in, gives you like a bit more, scope to maneuver. It's all going to be wonderful. And then actually, I read the thing and I was like, oh, it's not. And I did ask, could we change it? You don't ask if you don't get it, do you? So you don't get it.
And then organisers are like, yeah, sure, of course. I mean, you're the only one that's requested it, but yeah, not a problem.
And then so they were just like, obviously, just no. And I was like, okay, I tried.
Wow. Okay. So curious. On the way up, did you make your way through the 82s or did you jump straight up? You jumped straight up. So this is your first time in the 82s?
Yes, because originally when I first started competing, it was 75 kilos. There wasn't any 63 or anything. It was just under 75 and over 75. Wow. So since I've been competing, they've obviously created more classes, which is great because it brings more people to the sport, But yeah, so no, so the first time I've got into that. They've also, for Worlds this year, I believe they've created another weight class for the women of 73.
Yeah, I'd heard
So
about this.
yes, yeah. So you know, which again is it's great. But to be fair, I would like just because I would like one above the 82, because you know, I was like, well, there's 64, 73, and 82, and then it's just open.
Yeah.
So nearer to 82 than I would be some of the other people in the open category class, you know, body weight wise. So can we have like one that's 90? But nobody's took me up on that.
Do you know what you need to do? You need to start running your own event for with the 90
Yeah.
kilo club. That's what you need to do. Yeah. But I don't want to ride anyone else. We're just going to put on the Donna Moore Classic, and then
Yeah, let's do it for people who weigh 90. So yeah, but yeah, you know, it's a new challenge for me that I only decided on really probably a couple of weeks ago. So I didn't really help myself either.
So
But
that's
hey ho.
crazy. So let's hop off on this, because I think this is really interesting. Like, so let's talk about in terms of training and approach to training. Obviously, when we look at the heavyweight athletes, we understand, you know, that kind of the old school mentality of like mass moves mass. We know that being bigger, generally, with especially with our moving events, you know, can help us a little bit too. But we also see this huge rise in athleticism and dynamic
Yeah.
performance from much smaller athletes. Now, obviously, when we hit that weight cut, we don't have that mass to be able to throw mass around quite so easy. So we tend to be a little bit more dynamic. So talk to me about that. Are you changing the way that you operate within your training? Are you looking at doing more dynamic stuff? Is it just the same as the same, but we're going to be a smaller Donna? What are you coming into this with?
Yeah, kind of basically it is, because I feel that I was fairly dynamic already. Like the weight that I would be sitting at for my category at the time was probably all right. You know, it was able to, like, my body was able to run fast with the heavy things, and it was also able to stand still and
And
lift the
you were
heavy things.
definitely nowhere close to being the heaviest in your category, right?
No, no,
No.
I'm not at all. But I'm also like, say a bit maybe taller. I mean, I'm still not tall, but you know, maybe taller than some of the other
Yeah.
people. So it's just, I don't know how I feel about it, but I would have been. I think I would have classed myself as being fairly dynamic before. I'm pretty sprinty, and
Yeah.
I enjoy like the movement events, especially the movie carrying events. You know, farmers, kegs, sandbags, you know, or drags,
Yeah.
truck pulls, stuff like that. So realistically, I'm just kind of cutting down, but I'm still at the moment training with like the open weights kind of weight for these England qualifiers, because bearing in mind they are qualifiers at this point. So I just, as much as I would obviously really want to win, it's going to be like with no 24-hour weigh-in and weighing on the day. It's, you know, it's a big ask. So like main obviously aim is not to be injured, you know, moving forward, and to qualify. So you know, I'm being sensible about it.
Yeah.
Really. So yeah, I'm hoping that I'll just get, like, obviously the smaller athletes are faster, but that my strength would still hold out. You know, but we'll find out at the moment. At the moment it is, and I'm quite you know, a small amount of everything. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fairly miserable. And it was my birthday like last week, and I couldn't even have any birthday cake or anything like that.
Oh no, not even an off day for your birthday, you poor thing.
No, so we're the date is at the start of June at the moment. So we'll that's what we're aiming towards.
Okay. And have you kind of got okay, I know that I need to lose X amount each week, month? Are you doing it in a staggered way? Like how are you, or is it just kind of like, let's see how much we can get off to start off with, and then if we need to come up with a formulated plan after that, we can get into that shit later on.
At the moment I'm working with Tiny Titan, and we've just literally gone into like a rapid fat loss protocol basically. So it is like fairly miserable, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we're just seeing how my body responds to that at the time, or at now. So because we've only just started, I think it's probably gone into a bit of a shock. So it's so have I. But we'll just get used to it, and then, you know, see how we get on, and she'll just change everything accordingly. I'm pretty good at sticking to, if this is what you're supposed to do, then that's how you do it. And, you know, that's why I'm generally quite disciplined with everything that I do. So I miss lattes and I miss my, you know, birthday cake, but for X amount of weeks, however long it needs to be, then I'm able to do that. So hopefully, you know, COVID restrictions and everything will still be fine. Like I say, this is the start of June we're, you know, looking at, and then it'll go ahead on that date, you know. And if it doesn't for any reason, then we'll still aim for that. But you know, I'm not going to be going to the USA until at least September, so we'll be able to put some on. I don't really sit that much over it all, to be fair. And if I can operate at a lighter body weight, I just feel better anyway. So that's
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what anyone that I've spoken to, and I've experienced it myself, you know, coming into to comp season when I'm substantially heavier, just that your day-to-day life, it's a lot of the time, you know, spectators don't even think about this. You know, we see these incredible, humongous, strong, powerful athletes, whether it's on the women's side or the men's side, and you're like, wow, that's so impressive. You're like, yeah, but that dude's got to walk around Sainsbury's and Tesco's and little pick all of his shit up, collect his kids, or you know what I mean? Like, people don't think about just from the day-to-day side of things. So kind of talk to me about that. How have you experienced that? Obviously you've been through many, many competitions. You've been bigger than you are now. You've been heavier.
Yeah.
What is the main difference for you? What do you feel in yourself, the difference between you being heavier and lighter?
Yeah, I think it's my own self, actually. It's not even like anybody else's opinion of what I look like or how I am. It's my own like happiness within myself. So I just feel better when I'm not so big.
Yeah.
And it makes, and not that I'm like massive by any means. At Worlds last year, well, 19, the last time that it was on, and I won. And I was like, I thought I was in like pretty decent shape, to be fair. I wasn't,
you were in
like
great shape.
You know, there wasn't a lot of, you know, spare things, if you see what I mean. You know, I felt like quite a tight, powerful package, and I was able to use my brain effectively that particular days to achieve what I wanted. So it was wonderful. But like in the real world of wearing like normal people clothes or gym clothes and stuff, like for women that I like to wear, it can be quite like difficult, you know, because my back's really wide and stuff like that. So I feel happier in myself when I'm just a little bit smaller, I feel healthier, you know, able just to do more stuff. And I'm obviously, when I was competing at Worlds, I was like slightly bigger, and I was still like fast and powerful and effective for my sport. Like that's the biggest thing. Like I'm effective for the things that I need to do. But if I'm just in normal life, I'd prefer myself a little bit littler. So this is like a nice compromise, the 82, if I can get there. It's like hoping that, well, not hoping that I will be smaller, but still like fairly strong is what obviously I'm aiming for. Because obviously the middleweight league is crazy strong right now. You know, they've just put up a load of records over the weekend and they're pressing and whatever. So it'll be interesting to see where it leads me. If the competitions in America can't go ahead, I would like them to. So we'll see. We're not sure if the Arnold's going to go. There's no pro women class that they plan on doing, as far as I'm aware, which is a shame. Maybe there's some records at the Road Record Breakers, but there's no pro women show at it. It's pro men, but no pro women. So it's, as far as I'm aware, unless that changes. So it's it doesn't leave that much, you know, that much open. WUS hopefully is going to put on their competition in Las Vegas, so that will be good. Yeah. And if there was some records, obviously I'm interested in like the records, depending on what they would be and how much notice we get. But again, it just depends on the travel and your job and your actual life, you know. So
yeah, that's the joys, isn't it? Is that it's just the not knowing, I think, is the most frustrating thing, because you know, when we look at ahead of the year, the competitions that we have, the things that we want to achieve and accomplish, it's really nice to be able to just kind of look back and reverse engineer it. And everyone is now sat in a position where you can't reverse engineer anything because we have nothing for definite, nothing. And that is just like, for a strongman or a strongwoman, it's just like banging your head against the fucking brick wall. because you're like,
Well,
I don't want to peak for this, only for it to be torn away from me. Have gone through all of this, be like beaten up, feel really, really tired, ready to go to war, and then find out, oh, actually, I can't do it. It's going to be in 2 months' time. I've now ruined my peak. I'm now absolutely, my body's shot to pieces, and now I have to kind of recycle to get back into that position to be able to go against. That's so tough for you guys.
It is really difficult, especially when this is not like my actual job. I don't like earn a living from doing this. So if I have to, like, we're still working for the NHS, and like you say, factoring in the training, the travel to training and all the other things that you have to organise. And then for like I don't think the American government's going to have a problem. They're like, well, you can come. The problem is going to be coming back, and that would be, where if it's just the case of a PCR test or something, that's fine. But then all of a sudden, like you say, it could change within a week, and it could be quarantine in a hotel at your own expense for £1,700, like with what?
Yeah.
And then phone at my NHS job and say, actually, so that 5 days that I was away for, now I'm in a hotel, I'm to quarantine, where I can come back to work. I don't really think it would go down very well. So it's just like you say, it's so uncertain. But at least here in the UK, if I can do this, it's going to be a little bit more certain. And hopefully, if I manage to qualify through the pathway as a middleweight, I'll end up at Britain's, which is nearer the end of the year. Seeing what else happens, with the American competitions, obviously, but at least you'll know something's happening here in the UK to do. Keeps the focus, whereas we've been just bimbling around in Middle Earth for like a year. So at least now it's a bit more purpose.
So have you guys been told anything, obviously, because we've now seen it, I know about it a little bit before it came out, obviously, about the fact we now have the Arnolds coming to the UK. We've got qualifiers from the male side of things, I know, but I don't really know anything. Have you been told anything from the female side of things? Do you know if there's going to be a pro-female show, or?
No, I haven't been told anything, although it would be nice if I was able to go ahead. But whether American people would come, or like what's their rules for coming in? Do they have to quarantine in a hotel? It's just the same for them. None of the female athletes, none of this is their job. So having to, fund all these trips, obviously some people do get help with sponsorship, and that's fantastic. But it's still, if you did have to quarantine to come here for 2 weeks as a competition, like, you can't even train, and you
can't justify it, can you? Just as a human being, you can't justify it. It's just ridiculous, especially with the unfortunate much lower prize money levels and entry, like barrier for entry. It's like, what's the fucking point? What's the point that there is?
Exactly. And most of us would love to be involved. Like, if there was something over here, I really think that some of the pro girls would come over. Although we've got like a big depth of talent here currently, it's going crazy. But if it's going to be a pro show qualifier for other pro shows, then it needs to, be open to other people, which is, I suppose, the reason why they're maybe not doing anything, that kind of way. If there was like a qualifier for the amateur Arnolds, then I think people would go. But again, that's,
I think people
entry
would go
fee and training for
1,000%.
something. And then I suppose, again, with that's the fit, the Arnold, and then like the Fit Expo and stuff. But again, it's going to like depend on the restrictions that like literally could say, actually, still going to only be 30 people all the way into that time of year inside, like it is at weddings and stuff. So you just can't, like you say, it's the uncertainty of everything. It's very difficult right now, very difficult. But no, to answer your question, I haven't specifically heard anything about what's going to be there strongman wise or anything.
Yeah, it's just seems a bit bizarre. I kind of felt like when it first came out and I heard about it, it was kind of like, oh my God, like, it's this breath of fresh air. Like, okay, we no longer have to go over to Ohio to qualify for the amateur pro. We can do it in our own soil. We don't have to deal with the time delays, with the jet lag, with all the bullshit American food. We can just grab our stuff, head up there, and go and do it. You know what I mean? It's not the same. It's not the same. It's not our creature comforts. We don't feel the same.
No.
So that was really, really exciting. But you know, I really, really, really hope that they can live up to the expectations that I think everyone has, because I think this was the opportunity that I kind of saw as like, okay, we have someone involved with setting up this show that really knows his stuff around strongman. He understands the business side of things, because Eddie's very, 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 very good with business. Anyone that knows Eddie knows this.
Yeah.
So having the opportunity to put the females in the spotlight, I kind of felt like this was our big opportunity. This was our big chance to get the females into the main limelight, was to get you guys on the pro stages in front of the big audiences, just like the guys. So I'm still really, really, really holding out for that, because I think that would be incredible. And I think there are a lot of people now, and you touched on it there, like, we've got a fucking really good depth of quality when it comes to female athletes in the UK. And I'm just going to go out there and say, I think in terms of strong women, not just powerlifting, but strong women, the UK has the greatest female athletes in the world. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm from the UK, so I'm allowed to say I'm a little bit biased, but just from what I've seen, and not even just at like the heavier weight classes, like you were saying, the lighter weight classes, we have some stone cold killer females that are just absolutely doing bits at the moment. So I think this is the other really exciting thing, is that because we're kind of creating this hype in the UK around like all of these really cool, strong female figures, it's like, okay, now we need to have that show to kind of be like the showcase, you know what I mean? It's like, look at what these women can do. This is so cool. So I was really hoping that.
It would agree. It would be nice if they could get like some of us, or you know, to go and do like even if it's just some kind of lifting or whatever on, like, you know,
even
that
if it's like an expo lift, like just so people can see you guys doing it, and then again, it's just it's more eyes, isn't it? More eyes.
It doesn't even need to, like you say, it doesn't even need to be a record. It can just be like, you know, just something for other people to see. So like the exposure from like doing the rogue records and stuff like that is like crazy, you know. Even if they just like repost something from the rogue records, like your page goes great, you know, goes mad. So much more people come into it. So if we could have something like that in this country for people to see, like the depth of like talent for not just like the female athletes but all of the athletes, it would be nice, and like open up strongman again to more people, rather than just thinking it has to be great big giant massive blokes on the TV.
Big hairy ass motherfuckers.
Yeah, they're all awesome and everything like that, but you know, they have to come into the sport because they saw it. So the more people that see it, the more that will come, and then the sport grows and there's more money, blah blah, for business. So it would be nice if we could have something like that. But we've got the Fit Expo as well in July, I believe. So I think it's July. So that will be
for now. Let's put disclosure on there.
A login deadlift there. But again, I feel that's inside, so I'm not sure how that's gonna.
I thought it was gonna be
away. Very far. It's in Liverpool, I think. I should know that because I'm going to it, but
no, I'm pretty sure it is. I think you're right there. But it's it's tough uncertain times for sure. And kind of, I think, you know, coming back to the whole thing of getting more eyes in the sport, bringing more people in, increasing the revenue stream, being able to then give money out, which then brings people back in. It's a really weird circle, isn't it? But it's so hard because you've got to get in there first to be able to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's really, really, really tough. But you know, I think with what we have with the females and the potential that we have at our disposal, and the direction that it's very, very slowly going in, we're kind of seeing steps in the right direction. And I think, especially from your females' perspective, yes, you've kind of got like a catch-22, because it's kind of like, we feel like we have to hold our tongue because we're very slowly getting there, but at the same time, we're still like 20 fucking steps behind the guys. So
yeah, it is. And you always like feel like, well, actually, it's come on. There's so many more women, and like, you know, the Arnold, there's usually more female competitors in the amateur classes than there are men. So that's amazing, of course. And it has come on leaps and bounds, but I suppose it has for the guys as well, like in the amount of prize money that they get and the opportunities to get that much.
crazy.
So it's just very difficult to like word it in the right way. So if the guys have only just started to gain their momentum and we're just gaining our momentum at the other end, the kind of at the bottom, trying to balance it up is difficult. And also, you know, as much as you want more exposure and stuff, the people that are putting these competitions on, it's also their business. So
Yes.
it's very difficult.
Yeah.
I understand, and it's very difficult like to say it like that, but you know that's essentially what it is. So
yeah, and it's hard as well because like you don't want to feel like an asshole for saying it because we're finally getting somewhere. But we are all, anyone that's in this industry that knows about it, knows about the things that are going on, the money that's involved. We all know that there's a huge pay discrepancy. We all know that. We're well aware of that. It isn't 100% right. I don't think it should be the case. I think there should be a lot more even spread across both the male and female side of things. And I do actually think that the females need to get a little bit more in the spotlight so then we can draw more female attention into the sport. Because there are lots of females that like to look at big, strong, hairy men that will be in the sport forever, even just as a spectator. But then you also have the females that then see the females and go, wow, what a role model. That's what I want to be. I want to be that powerful, strong, independent woman going up there, kicking ass and taking names. You know what I mean? So,
and I think that's the main thing that most of us like who do this would say, you know, that's the thing you want other people, other women to see like how strong like women can be and other things that you can do, like breaking down the stereotypes. Of course, there's all of those things, but like again, they need the platform to be able to do that. We're doing better like through social media and stuff like that obviously helps. But if there was, you know, just able to put some things on at other expos for the women, again, it's giving it the opportunity, you know, to grow even more. And you know, like you say, we haven't heard anything about the women's pro show at all this year. Like, are they going to put anything on? Was it going to be with the amateurs? Is Rogue going to take it on because they've got a pro men show? So is anybody going to do anything with it, or is it just like not going to go? Is it not going to go ahead? So it's just waiting. But it's again like, well, there'll be the pro men and there'll be like the female men and women like CrossFit competitions. There'll be the records, but there's no like pro strong women. So that's you know, caused a bit of a stir amongst
yeah. I'm gonna throw a huge curveball at you right now. Okay, so I want you to imagine I've just given you £100 million. I've given you £100 million to sort this shit out for once and for all. We're gonna sort this shit out. We're gonna redefine the whole system. What would you like to see, Donna? What do you want to see? How would you want to see it run? What would it look like from your perspective?
And I suppose like with it still needs like all the women to be able to participate, to have anything like it was, you know, say with the men.
You've got 100 million and COVID doesn't exist. Fuck COVID, okay, it's gone. What do you do?
It's putting it more out there for the public to see, like on the TV. You know, maybe something along with the guys' programs doesn't need to be like initially like shoved in the faces of everybody. But if you had like some exposure, say Andrea, for instance, did something at one of the strong guys competition, but it was like a record. But it was at the competition, but it wasn't filmed. It wasn't put on the TV footage for the public.
This was at UK's. This was the log, wasn't it? Because I was there. It was the first time I'd ever actually met her in person, and yeah, she was doing the British. Was it the British log record at UK Strongest?
I'm not. Or like it was like a rep record or something like that. But yeah, it was all set up. She trained for it. She did it. And she did a yoke, I think, as well.
Yes.
And they didn't actually put that on the TV. So if that had been on the TV, just like in some of their experts, like it would have taken like all of like 3 minutes to talk about Andrea, show her the two things that she was doing, and then people would have known about it. So I suppose like with the money side of things and trying to do it, it's kind of like it's difficult to gauge because nobody's actually said, oh well, here's all of this to go and sort it all out. But it would be, you know, putting on bigger competitions on like a higher stage. If you've got the money, you could pay the Arnold or whatever to have these competitions there using decent equipment and a decent environment that encourages people to come, you know, rather than just being in like somebody's car park with stuff that's all falling to pieces. You know, it's about, you know, you want to attract women into the sport, so you need the stuff to be, you know, you need the stuff to be nice and safe and not raining. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like little.
This is us
like
going
that.
back to the pre-chat before we started about you not liking inclement weather, isn't it?
I hate it, man. I hate it. And like, even if there's like one like drop of like moisture in the air, I'm like, no, I don't want to go outside. But anyway, I've sucked it up recently, and you know, I've been out training the snow and everything, so, and I didn't die, so it's fine. But you know, it's that kind of thing. If you've got more money, I understand that's where the problem is. But if you put people out there, they would eventually start to generate some kind of business. Like, women aren't always allies to this cause, but you know, the women in this sport, there is many of them. It's just the opportunity stops because you actually have to have a proper job to go along with this. It's not where you can earn an income from doing that. So there's more business opportunities would come, you know, if they're at a high, if people are exposed to it. So we take Luke and Tom, then that they've come into this, people have seen them on TV, and that's how they've got more sponsorships and more, you know, exposure, and then more sponsorships, and then more exposure.
They'll open a gym and then create revenue for themselves and not have to worry about
exactly. So, but the money had to be there, and the system had to be there for that to happen, to enable that to be there. Whereas, yes, we do have a system and a pathway, but it doesn't. That's where it ends. Like it ends at Worlds, where there is like a big discrepancy in like World's Strongest Woman money to even the weight category men. So, you know, that's when you find things like that out, you're like, what? You know, because like stuff like that I didn't know, you know, because we just got quite naive about it, I suppose. Like, why would it be like that? But hey ho, it is. And I could just rant, but
no, that's what this is here for. Like, I want to hear you rant, because at the end of the day, Donna, you were thinking this and you were saying this, but fucking thousands and thousands and thousands of other women are thinking the exact same thing. But the difference is you are in a position where you can vocalize it, and people will listen to you. And that's why I love having strong females like you on the show. Like, I'm super proud to say that Alpha Pack Experience has probably both pound for pound and the strongest female athletes in the fucking world. And I think it's dope. And I'm 100,000% an ally to the cause, because for me, it isn't about the fact that you're females. It's the fact that you guys are strong as fuck. It's cool. And you're just not getting the exposure because of your gender, which for me just fucking baffles my brain. It baffles my brain, because without women, men wouldn't fucking exist. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? It's so narrow-minded. Like, I don't comprehend it whatsoever. So I really, really, really want to, with all of you females, is to delve to the bottom of what can we actually do here? Because in 2021, now with our voices and being able to vocalize and come together as communities, we have the greatest power we've ever had in our fingertips today, because we have community at a touch of a button. We also have hate and all this other shit that people have to put on social media, but we have a chance to come together for a greater cause, which is why I think it's really important to ask these questions and go, okay, well, if this is what we need, then maybe we need to stop relying on all of these other male-driven industries to come and help us out. And I think, you know, there's always like little sparks in the back of my mind that's like, okay, maybe we get like a female-only strong woman league where we have it's just, you know, it's independently run. We know what we need to do. We can get the funding. But it's hard, like, you know, you said, females aren't always allied to the cause. And I think it's really, really tough when you're trying to justify something, but then you have someone who is the same gender as you that is going against everything that you're saying, and you're like, motherfucker, do you not realize how long we've worked to try and get this, and now you're making it way more difficult? Like,
that's right. And it's like, it is so difficult to say, because it has come on so much. I've had like great opportunities, you know, like literally I was in in a car park and stuff like that, and there we are on the main stage at the Arnold doing these great records, and with like fantastic equipment. You know, I get to have like the best dumbbell and the beautiful Slater Atlas stones, you know, on that stage with, you know, other strong people who are strong-minded, but people wanted to see that. You know, if you're at the Arnold, the crowd is big. You know, it just shows that there is that market for it there. It's just like having the opportunity, if that makes sense. And I suppose it's like getting it out there more into the mainstream. In that case, it does need to be alongside, you know, some of the guys' things for it to be like a viable option at the time. You know, like you say, if you've got £100 million, all right, you'd maybe be able to start your own super league and organise your things. And I think that's a definite doable thing, but there isn't £100 million.
We need to start a fucking GoFundMe. Do you know what I mean? Like we need to get this done. We need to get this done. But yeah, no, I completely know what you mean. But I think even if it was to be like in the advertising slots within all these huge male shows, like what is to stop at SBD doing just a full female reel of all of the fucking craziest lifts, the world records, the competition? Do you know what I mean? Like you can make that so cinematic, so engaging, so attention grabbing, so attractive visually to watch, and so tense at the same time, and it's completely keeping in with the theme. It, like, do you know what I mean? Like it makes me scratch my head a little bit with these things, because it's like, I know I'm not the only one thinking this shit. Like, I'm not just some guy in England that's just like got his own plans. Like, there are loads of other people that have kind of figured out that something needs to change here. And I'm sure those guys aren't fucking naive enough to just be like, everything's fine with a pro females. Like, we're giving them more money now, so they'll shut up for a while. It's like, no, motherfucker, that's not how it works.
No. And that's the thing, really. Is like the shows get heavier and everything gets more and more like demanded on yourself. It's kind of like, well, is there even anything? Not that everything comes down to money. Obviously, I do have some nice trophies, but you know, the amount that you yourself actually have to invest in you doing this is not like really balanced out by what you might win. You know, so to come away with, say, like 15 grand or something, you would need to win the pro show, you would need to and break 2 world records on the same weekend in a different country. So and that's the way that you would have to do it. And that's it. So, you know, but then, you know, like SBD did make some really good series about like their athletes. You know, we've all got our own like made in Britain, especially like the British ones. So they're on YouTube. They do some good stuff. They do like promote their female athletes well throughout powerlifting and strongman. So they do a good job. Andrea and I have been to a Giants Live, and we've done like a talk in the middle and stuff. So that was cool. But like, again, we could have like done a demo or something, because there is a lot of time moving equipment around. So, you know, some of the stuff that we'd be able to do too. And like,
yeah. Colin, if you're listening, we want to see the females at Giants Live. We want to see all that good stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think even that's just like a stepping stone.
A more standalone kind of thing. Whereas, you know, in the pro show in America, it is its own kind of competition. Yeah, it's on the stage and stuff, but that's where it is. Where World's Strongest Woman for Official Strongman is like in the same. It's with everybody else. You know, it's not its own standalone thing, which, you know, would be nice like it used to be. So it's I'm not really sure which way to go. I've got lots of like things that I'd be like, oh yeah, this way and this way, but how would we get there? It's very difficult.
I think we need to talk about it, because then as a community we can figure that out along the way. Do you know what I mean? Like there are going to be like a lot of nuances that we're going to have to figure out. But I think if we can, like, because this is the thing, people feel weird about wanting to talk about it because of the things that you just said, and kind of it's almost like you don't want to bite the hand that feeds. No. I think that's what a lot of people are scared of. And I'm like, I just want to go there and say, like, SBD, World's Strongest Woman, whatever it is, like, we're not going against any of these organizations. They run the way that they run, and they have done for years and years and years. Things are definitely getting better, and that's really important to reiterate. 100%. But from my standpoint, Matt Grant, myself, with the Outback experience, I think it's important that we make a bigger thing out of it. And I think that we have the potential to do so. I think if we really looked into it, there is the money there to do so, but we just need a plan. And the more we can talk about it, hopefully there'll be some crazy rich millionaire that's listening to this podcast that's like, you know what, I've got 100 million that I can burn. What should I do? I'm going to start the pro female strongwoman league. Hey, it might happen. It might happen. That's why we have to put this shit out there.
And loads of people do have like good ideas, like Wuss, for example, Worlds Ultimate Strongman. You know, they put on all the records. They featured like heavily, really good, and they're really good, strong records as well. You know, so they were. That's fantastic. That also got a lot of exposure. That's the way. You know, one of the other ways to do it. So we're all trying to participate as many opportunities as there is possible. But then there's not. You get, you know, obviously you get to be on the TV and you get to have a nice stone to lift and stuff. But like it needs to be just that little bit more really as well, you know. And it's doing the groundwork now, so the people I suppose that come along in the future may have better outcomes than than what we have. It's clearly not going to be in like my time that there's going to be like making a living from doing this like strongman for females, but you know, for other people then it could be. So it's trying to work towards like something for the next generations that come along, people that actually want to get into it as a competitive sport, not just like an exercise.
100%. And you know, I think that's really interesting that you kind of talk about all of that, because you know, if we look back, what is it now? You started into like 2011, 2012, somewhere around then, wasn't it? So you know, we're like 9-10 years down the line. You know, I think back to what even the males was like 9-10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're coming away with $2,000 and a handshake for winning a pro competition, whereas now it's like 75,000. Like it's just like, it has just excelled so exponentially over the last 9-10 years that it's like, okay, if that's happened in this time frame, what could be in the next kind of 9 to 10 years? And I think that's the really exciting thing, because it's like, I think you're right, you know, we are getting way more viewership now because of the Wuss record breakers just getting into people's faces. And as much as people were a little bit funny about Rogue kind of coming onto the scene at the beginning, it's like, hey, they developed a fucking huge viewer base with the CrossFit stuff that they were doing, which we now just get a free dip in that pond whenever we want. As soon as they go live, we're just getting millions of people viewing it. And that is where we need to be. That's where
that's right. And that's why it's nice to be doing like events, you know, events with like the CrossFit people or like the other Rogue, you know, the other Rogue record breakers, and that it's streamed the exact same. You can watch the whole program with everybody doing all their records together. So that's really good. So like we're saying, it's like difficult when you see how far like Strongwoman has come. Obviously, it's kind of did take a step back too, because like it used to be on at the same time as World's Strongest Man in the same place doing, you know, like cool stuff, you know. And so the last one that I watched was a clip. It was Jill Mills, and she was in Kuala Lumpur, and she was there holding, I think it might be in a car hold or something, because I remember that I've got the same number plate because I have WSW on mine, and that's what it was on there. I know. I was like, oh my God, we've got the same number plate. Anyway, that's just so. So you know, that's when it was on the television. It was at the same time. That's where I first saw Strongwoman, is Jill Mills on the TV, and I was like, wow. Holy hell! Look at you, gorgeous thing. You know, that kind of thing. Look at what everybody's doing. So you know, it just takes that one thing for people to think, oh yeah, that's a cool. You know, even at that time, I didn't actually obviously take up doing it, but then I knew what it was.
The seed was in there, wasn't it?
It was just, yes, very far back. But yeah, it came to like fruition. You know, it's something that I, you know, obviously knew. But been watching World's Strongest Man for that many years on the television. If they just put like something in, women doing something, you know, like just dropped in here, there, and everywhere, then it, you know, it would have got more exposure. So I suppose in that sense it has like come backwards a little bit where it would have been on the TV. But then is World's Strongest Man an actual is it a business? You know, it's like, you know, the television show is just there for the money, you know, it's very complicated.
It is. But this is the thing, is that lots and lots and lots of people don't understand this. They don't understand this, and viewers don't understand this. And then when people come out and they say this stuff, they're like, oh shit, what? Like, this is crazy. Like, we thought this was made out to be like the Golden Gates, you know what I mean? This is the most incredible thing ever. But then when you're on the other side of it, you're like, oh, I know all of the fuckery that's going on behind the scenes here that is really frustrating. And I can't express it, and I can't talk about it for fear of biting the hand that feeds, or whatever it might be. Do you know what I mean? I think it's tough because they've kind of got you trapped between a rock and a hard place. Do you know what I mean? And it's just one of those things that I think, you know, in time we might get there, but the more exposure we can get with everything, I think the better and better.
Yeah,
So kind of going
definitely.
on from that, with the Wuss stuff, obviously you've had some tremendous records. You've been on an absolute fucking rampage with it, and it's been so sick to see. It's been so sick to see. So for you moving forward, if you have the opportunity again, have you got? I feel like you've probably got a few little things in the back of your mind. They're kind of ticking over about what you might want to kind of try your hand at next, whether it be numbers or events. So if you're comfortable talking about it, any.
Well, what would I like? I would like something new to actually. I think the dumbbell record could definitely be extended, so that's like a pretty cool thing. Obviously the stone record, there's more in, you know, there's quite a bit more there in the stone lifting tank as far as like I'm personally concerned, but I don't really know, like for numbers or whatever. I think everyone's chasing like a 300-pound log at the moment. So I think that's definitely going to go, and I think it'll be a British athlete that does that really soon. So that's exciting. And also the deadlift records, and I believe that will also be gone by another British athlete as well. So, you know, that's they're really, really big, you know, big things to be having, and I hope that they get the exposure that they deserve. So we'll have to need everybody to share those kind of things, so like the world can see that too.
Yeah.
Myself, I don't know. I just see whatever comes along, and if it takes my fancy, then I'll do it. But I like to have the time. Don't be saying, "All right, I'm just going to do this for no particular reason." I want to do it at a show where, you know, where you've got time to actually lift everything. It's not just like you say, in car park somewhere. I want it to be done like, you know, properly. Like the Clash on the Coast people, they had a few problems at the beach this weekend, but they moved it into the car park, and look how many people across the world saw that, and the lighter athletes, you know, all showcased as well. So spot on. stuff like that. But again, I suppose their restrictions are maybe slightly different to ours, so things like that can go ahead. But, you know, moving forward here, that's what, you know, we need to do as well. We've got some really good, like you say, weight class athletes. One of my friends, Dale McPherson from 3D Strength, you know, he's a little bit chubby now, but, you know, he's a strong guy. You know, people like that to be showcased.
Yeah, 100%. Just got so many thoughts and ideas just coursing through my brain with possibilities. But I think this is the way we need to do. We need to do some exposure, like not even competitions, but just something where we could just show the world. And I think it's hard because then you get into that the world's strongest man thing of it being like, okay, in order for us to make this look great, like we really have to make it about the visual and the aesthetic and the attention to detail and all this sort of stuff. So it's hard because it's that double-edged sword of like, we want cool, heavy, raw, but we also want it to be visually stimulating enough that it isn't just all of the gym monkeys that are just like, oh yes, big weight, oh yes, this is what I want to do. It's like, no. We don't just want you big hairy fuckers. We want everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that is. It's like it needs to be like a visual thing. Like there needs to be the cool stuff, like truck pulling, carrying, I don't know, fridges on yokes or something.
Yes!
You know, that people can so people can see, and you know how heavy that is, and you know it just
washing machine silver dollar deadlift.
Yeah, that's it. Like if I was carrying, like we were talking before, like the people in my square, like totally ignore the fact that I'm stood there lifting anything. Running with farmers, it doesn't even matter. They would just drive their car past me like this, literally. Yeah. But I suppose if I was walking around, like carrying a fridge, then they'd be like, oh my goodness, why are you carrying a fridge? So that's so heavy. Well, actually, what I was just lifting before is much heavier than a fridge. But because you don't know, then you can't visually tell that that's what it is.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, or you know, like even I've done it before, like had to push my car somewhere, and you know, oh gosh, you must be really strong if you can push your car. Yes, okay. So that's what people see, isn't it? So that's why things like truck pulls, you know, I'd even talked about with one of my friends. She's a firefighter, so she's again like breaking down the stereotypes. We did a lot of stuff around, you know, females in the fire service and stuff like that. And I was like, well, we could organise like a fire truck pull kind of thing, and it would raise money for the fire brigade, but also, you know, they're very heavy. So
yeah.
It would also look cool, and then people would see stuff like that, do you know? And that's what makes the difference to it, because at the start of it all, strongman was because it was like weird heavy stuff. That's how it all started off. Yeah. And you know, even back to its like very, very basic roots in the circus, that's the same as what it was. Like the Sanduina, she's there with like 5 men hanging off her. Not that I would want specifically to do that, but that's why it was so popular, and she was like so revered because people were able to visually, like, oh my goodness, look how heavy that must be. I can't carry 5 people or a pony, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, so it needs to be, there's a lot of things that, you know, need to be worked on, but like we said, we have come a long way in a minority sport, and women are even more in a minority in it. So we need to run with what we've got, and the exposure that we're gathering just seems that like COVID seems to have put like a big dampener on everything because of the limited funds for other stuff. It's kind of like the last thing that they're thinking of, you know, what's going to be the biggest draw for these competitions. So it's
and I think it's interesting as well, because when we look at the fitness industry, especially the female fitness industry, and this is my opinion, and you're more than welcome to interject if you want to, but I thought, well, not even necessarily the female fitness industry, just the fitness industry in general, is so hypersexualized, in my opinion. Like, and I think it's really interesting because Strongwoman is kind of like, it's the last front. It's like we're not giving into your fucking bullshit. We're not giving into your, like, barely having your fucking nipples covered, working out in a thong in the gym. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not about that to try and get more viewership. What we're about doing is sticking true to the nature of what the fuck we joined up for, which is lifting cool stuff, lifting heavy stuff, and putting it back down again.
It is that, but I mean, at the same time, if that's what women who are doing strongman wanted to wear to work out, then that's like that's entirely their, you know, their choice.
100%, but not doing it just to draw attention. That's what I mean. Like, because we know that sex sells, we understand that, and a lot of the fitness industry is based heavily around that. But I love the fact that, you know, and Andrea is the exact same. She'll work out in some fucking short shorts and a crop top, and she looks fucking awesome. But she isn't relying on that to grow what she's doing. She's also lifting fucking heavy stuff. She's lifting cool implements. She's lifting all this sort of stuff. She isn't just being like, I'm going to put all of this away, and I know that if I put on some short shorts and a crop top, I get fucking 2,000 more likes or this. That's kind of where I was kind of going with that.
Yeah, it's kind of like a double-edged difficult sword, that as well. But I think from myself, just because I wouldn't necessarily be like that anyway, although my shorts are very small, it's literally just from like, I just like, that's my PE kit. And that's what I just like to wear, basically all the same. So that's just me and what like I feel comfortable in. But I wanted to show, you know, like I am like a bigger person. So here I am doing like cool stuff, you could do this too. I'm like a mum, I've got a job. Now my kids are like teenagers, we've done all of this. So it's just like, I am like a regular kind of person, but I just get to do this really cool shit. And I want you to see how wonderful doing all the cool stuff or lifting weights or exercise, like how much better it can actually make you feel. And that's the main thing for me at the end of it all. I'll always go and try and be nice to people. My gym's like a small gym that I go to, but I like go and at least say hi, you know, because but most people just, to women, they, you know, they just be like looking at me in the mirror like, good Lord, I've got this. Yesterday I had a vest on that says, that's one huge bitch. It's from like, you look like a man.
Oh, I love You Look Like a Man. My girlfriend is obsessed with that page.
Yeah, so it's one of those. And I was like, okay, so I did my strongman training kind of in the morning, and then I went back with my partner. He was like, oh, can we do this or whatever? And I was like, okay, let's do some like bodybuilding things. And like usually I'm like one sitting, I'm like, nah, I'm not doing it, I'm bored. So but I like stuck with it and everything yesterday, because you know you have to give and take. So I did that. And then it just at the end, because sometimes you see people catching your eye in the mirror, and I just wanted to go over and say like, oh hi, you know, don't want you to like look at me like I'm weird, but obviously I wasn't saying that. But you know, like, hello, I'm kind of friendly. It's just that hello to other people in the gym. I'm glad to see you here. Other ladies doing exercise with the dumbbells in the weight section. Go you, that kind of thing. So yeah. And, you know, that's what I would like to see. And the more that we break down the stereotypes of what people think that women should be and what they should do, the easier that it's going to get. So kind of like we're all on like a large mission to like show everything. So taking all the exposure that we've got right now and basically running with it so that more people can see. And I definitely feel it's becoming more of an accepted sport. If you know, people are seeing like how fun it is, and things like You Look Like a Man are bringing like to the forefront the other issues of like women in sport and what actually happens. Like thankfully, like those kind of really awful things that some people get sent to them and written to them, it doesn't really happen to me. Like I generally don't look in my other folder. There's a reason for doing that. Just keep those people there. If I don't, if I'm not following them, then I don't necessarily want to see. And if it's like, oh, tap this image for a preview, it's like never do that.
No. We just delete as soon as we see it. We don't even accept the message request. Just straight away into the recycling bin.
But like dealing with that kind of, comments and stuff like that, sharing the articles that Jessica like brings out to the forefront of the terrible things that are said to like female athletes. Some of the most recent stories have really been awful, and I was like, good God, I just didn't even know that those kind of people in the world existed that would write stuff like that. So, if I show it to my work colleagues, they're just like, oh my God, is that a thing? And I was like, yes, they're like misogyny for these. It's just, you wouldn't believe it until you actually read online what people actually say. And Jessica and I have talked about it, and that's what we say. It's like self-love by not reading like the comments on YouTube, and sometimes even like the comments in Rogue. Actually, she had put a post on, and it was me lifting the dumbbell, and one of the comments from it. And I messaged her, and I was like, well, I hadn't even seen that one. And she was like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to upset you. And I was like, I'm not upset. I just didn't look. So, that's just the way that it is. Of course, there's loads of positive comments. That's what we like to see. But, obviously, just like they've picked out those ones because they're awful.
Yeah, but it's really important that you highlight that. Do you know what I mean? That if there is 1,000 positive comments and one negative comment, as human beings, we read the fucking negative comment and we take that shit to heart. But we forget about the other 1,000, which empower us and make us feel incredible and on top of the world, just because that's human fucking nature, which is why it's so toxic.
Exactly. And that's why it's so, you really have to like battle against, social media at all levels, even at school levels. I've dealt that with my teenage son, their comments and their messages that they all disappear. There's no record. There's all stuff like that. So there is all the negative, but it is important to like embrace the positive, and that's really like what we're trying to go with there. You know, there is so much like support as well. Push the negativity.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
There will always be arseholes, and that is the
Yeah.
moral of the story. There
Yeah.
will always be arseholes. It doesn't matter what country, it doesn't matter what fucking color you are, where you come from, what you believe in, what your sexual orientation is. There will always
Yeah.
be one motherfucker that says something that really gets to you.
Yeah,
And it's
definitely.
just about being able to have that support network around you to be like, hey, this happened. I'm not going crazy. I'm all right to feel this way. I am okay to feel this way. Okay, no worries. Let's just bitch about this. Let's get it off my chest. And then we can go back to having a real good time.
And literally, that is the process. So, and that's the important bit to remember, isn't it? You know, those people in those comments, just they're not, you know, just leave them be to their.
They are no one. They, you know, I even get this shit. I'm not pro. I'm not important. I get fucking trolls on my stuff. And it's like, you go on there, and I bet it's the exact same with you. They'll have 32 fucking followers. They're not following anyone else. They have maybe one gym-related post on the 6 posts they have on their thing, and they're telling you that you're doing X, Y, and Z wrong. You look wrong.
Yeah.
This is wrong. You need to change this. You need to change that. And you're like, hey, buddy, who the fuck are you?
Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite ones is the it comes around every now and then, but it's the power pole, you know, where you put it on and it's got like the long kettlebell on it, and I was like strutting down the gym. That was some of the best comments I've ever read ever. Like, some of them, they're pretty hilarious. And then you get other people as well, like, no, this is this exercise for doing this, and you know, the educational people, and then like the funny people, and then some other guy did make a video of it taking the mick out of it, but he did it in kind of like a tasteful way. So I was like, actually, that's pretty funny. So you know, it is what you make it and how you take it. So it just it's when it just comes down to like actual pure nasty comments to regular people who are just posting their gym stuff, or you know, explicit messages and things. That is just like not okay.
Yeah, 100%.
No.
And I think like we've spoken about, pretty much the theme of this podcast is that we're very slowly getting there. We're very slowly stamping it out, but it is still pretty prevalent in the industry. So I think, you know, day by day, podcast by podcast, we can slowly keep on stamping this fire out. But, you know, important things to take away, regardless of what anyone says, you are 1000% one of the strongest women in the fucking world. You lift more than pretty much anyone else. Do you know what I mean? You have achieved more in your lifetime than any of these motherfuckers chatting smack about you ever will. So you always get the moral high ground. And let's face it, people know who you are. People will never know who they are.
Yes, this is very true.
You know, you are an incredible athlete. You are an incredible role model, an incredible mum to your children. You've juggled so much, you've come so far, and there is still so much left to give. The under 82s, I'm so fucking excited about this. This is so cool. This is so cool.
Oh, it's very limiting for me because I don't really eat that many things, to be fair. So like turkey mince and spinach is like my life, and everyone's like, why don't you just eat some fish? And I can't chew it. What about the chicken? I'm like, no, I can't do that. Like,
I can't chew it. Just blitz it down. That's it. Got some chicken paste.
No, no, I can't. It just makes me feel gippy. The very thought of it. No, it's not for me. But yeah, we're managing with what we've got right now.
Hey, I have absolutely zero doubt in my mind that you'll get there. Zero doubt. You're incredibly driven. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are so many times where you set your mind out to something and you put it out there. And hey, it usually comes in. Do you know what I mean? It usually comes in. So
it usually does, and that's one of the big things that I've worked on over, like, I suppose my time doing this is like, it's been mentally strong. Kind of believe that I've probably always been that way. throughout like my whole life, but I've just kind of got like a bit wayward through the middle section where I made some questionable life decisions. But you know, I do think that I have got that kind of mindset. Well, this is what we're going to do, and then so there we go. That was that. Might take me a long time to get to that decision, but then once it's made, off we go. So, and most of the time it has worked out. So fingers crossed it will again.
Keep on fucking doing it. That's the main takeaway. Just keep on fucking doing it, because I think you know, you do have an incredible mindset around things, and you can see that when you go and you do it, you don't just do it, like you fucking attack it. And it's so cool to see. You really, really, really do attack it. So I'm super excited. I can't wait to see what happens in this next year, regardless of whether any competitions happen or not, where you're going with things, what you're doing with things. It's all eyes on you, Donna. It's really, really, really exciting times. So I want to end the podcast the same way I end it with everyone else. We've done this a couple of times, so you've had a little bit of time to think about it. So for everyone's sake, we're going to take a little step back in time. You're going to take a step into a time machine. We're going to go back. You're 11, 12, 13 years of age, very formative years of your life. You have so many things ahead of you.
Yeah.
In those few moments, you get to spend imparting some wisdom, knowledge, and mantra, a way to live your life. What to your younger self?
Well, I think we talked about it last time. I think one of the things to think about is that I would say to you, especially having like especially a teenage son, you know, saying to like, hard times don't last. They do. As much as you think it's really, really shitty now, it does get better. And as much as you can't even see the way out of the tunnel, you do come out of the other side. You do need to work hard for that, but you know, it does. The things do get better. Hard times don't last. Work hard. That's one of my other ones. And you know, be kind. Again, you know, you only get what you also give. So be aware of other people's opinions and their, I don't know, the way that they are, I suppose. But yeah, they're my main ones really. Hard times don't last. Work hard and you'll achieve what you want to. They're my main things. I say that to them. Only my daughter sitting in the next room and she'll just be like, God's sake. But she knows
really again.
Yeah, she knows that it's true. You know, she's worked hard. She's dealing with the pandemic and doing her nurse training. She's so
wow.
you know, and so they've done their A levels online. They're doing their nurse training online. So she's working hard to get to where she wants to be, and then whatever the world holds for her afterwards. You know, so it's exciting times. That's what I would say.
Very exciting times. And hey, you know, I think if she has even an ounce of the same DNA as you, I think she's going to go places. She's going to be able to achieve the things, you know, way above and beyond what she believes she's capable of, just as you have done in the past. So yeah. I think it's awesome that you're teaching that, and you're giving that on to not just the next generation, but obviously like your own kids. That's so awesome to see. I think that's really important. But Donna, thank you so much for coming and doing this. It has been absolutely wicked. Third time's a charm. It was brilliant. It's been such a pleasure having you on. And when we get back to some form of normality, when we're back into competitions and we're around, hopefully we'll get into the opportunity to bump into each other and have a chit chat.
Yeah, definitely.
And catch up, because it's good. It's good. But thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Okay. Take care. Bye. Thank you for having me.